Hi, it's 𝘊𝘰𝘯𝘯𝘦𝘤𝘮. I'm the Clinical Director and Principal Psychologist of the Therapy Spot at Palm Beach on the beautiful Gold Coast. I wanted to jump on tonight and talk more about the resilience series that I've been doing over the last couple of weeks to help all of us make the adjustments around COVID and what we're doing. I know at the moment we're in early July and there's been an outbreak in Melbourne, which is concerning a lot of people, and it led to our decision to keep Therapy Spot shut for face-to-face work for another couple of weeks. So we're going to watch and see what happens before we come back in, which I'm a little sad about. Certainly not on the same level as those of us that have friends in Melbourne who are going into a much more restrictive life for the next 6 weeks, but hopefully we'll be thinking of them all and they'll come through the other side of it. So it definitely prompted me to keep going with our resilience series, and as you may remember, we're talking to the 3 pillars of resilience. The first one being compassion, which is about the way that we speak to ourselves and the way we treat ourselves in our everyday life. The second one is about care, how we care for our mind, which I talked about how it works for you, and how we care for our body and what we're doing and how we're feeding it, how we're walking with it, and how we're treating it in our day-to-day lives. The third one is what we're doing tonight, which is about connection and relationships. Now, I've spoken before about, I think it was the Harvard study that followed a group of people over 40 years. And what they found, and they watched their health and they looked at lots of different variables, but the things that led to a long life or a happier life, one of the ones that scored right up the top was connection. So, and the interesting thing was, it wasn't even the most simplest of everyday connections made a difference in terms of people's longevity and their health. And things like going and buying a coffee every morning, or saying hello to someone when you're walking in the street, or getting the newspaper, or working with people and saying hi, and then being seen and acknowledged. That level of connection is just as important as eating, exercise, all those sorts of things. It was right up the top. And our connections with the people that we care the most about are also important as well. So I made it the third pillar for us to develop resilience and for us to have strength and capacity to continue and be able to thrive and keep going in this difficult time. So I think that the importance of our relationships cannot be understated, because it's where our joy comes from. And this is what ties us together as people, is what we long for, is what we strive for. And if we come home to those relationships, if we're one of those lucky people that have a family that we come home to, sometimes many of us will then neglect those family members or treat them badly when we're under stress. And when we know and we look at people when they look back on their life, the thing that they regret the most is not spending more time with their family, not stopping and doing those sorts of things, or not loving them more. Children grow up very quickly. So one of the things that I want you to do in the coming week is to make time to connect with others, both for them and for you. So the people that might include would be your children, your partner, your parents, your siblings, your friends, your work colleagues, your neighbours, maybe the guy at the petrol station, the person that makes your coffee, that person that you pass in the street. So I put together some ideas to help, and I've kind of put into 3 little categories. So if you're a Victorian and you're watching this, I realise that you are stuck with your family or the people that you live with and you can't actually go out and about. So I've kind of made it more directed at what it's like when we're under restriction. So I think that one of the things that can be good is like an old-fashioned phone call. You can ring up your friends, you can talk to them on the phone, you can Zoom, FaceTime, the O'Connor family did some TikToks, and different members of our family took the same challenge and did it and danced, and it was really cool. And I think we felt that we were able to see one another and connect with one another. Facebook is another good thing, just jumping on, saying hi, sending a message, liking a thing, making that little connection that I talked about before with that study. Check-in emails can be really helpful too. Thanks for being there, doing those sorts of things. So with your partner, I want you to realise that if you're in lockdown, that worry, stress, fear, guilt are expected and normal reactions during quarantine. And just try really hard not to criticise one another for expressing those feelings. Just let yourselves feel that. So what happens to couples when they're under stress is that they will turn on each other and they'll take things out on each other because they don't feel they can control the bigger picture. So that's pretty normal. So instead of fighting like who has it worse here, just admit it together that it's difficult and go from the I and you to the we. What is this doing to us? What do we need as a couple in this moment? If you can think about your relationship as like a third entity that you need to look after and protect, and that you do certain things because your relationship needs it, even if it's not what you want right now, that'll help you get through it. For those of us that aren't under quarantine but are experiencing restriction with what we do and where we go, it's important that you stop and check in with your partner from time to time, and that you also and see how they're going, how they're traveling, what's going on for you, how are you feeling. Make sure you spend some quality time with them each day. I think sitting down for 5 minutes or stopping in between, greet them when they come home, make them feel special, let them know that they matter to you. The next area of connection that I want to talk about is your children, because our children are also going through this as well and having their own experiences of what's happening. So it's important that you kind of stop and you acknowledge that with them. When you're in the middle of what's happening for you, we often, well, maybe I don't, always pay attention to what my child's experiencing. So I know over these last couple of weeks, particularly last month and a half, I have kind of stopped and had a good look and decided to spend a lot more time with my child than leaving her roaming around or watching Netflix or doing the things that she does, and it's made a huge difference. So depends on their age. There's lots of different options, from, you know, catching ball, reading a book. I also think what's really important is to not underestimate the value of an old-fashioned connection. Sit together every night and have dinner. It's a lost art. I love that experience when you're all sitting down together, you've got food, everyone's got an opinion on what you've cooked or what the other person has cooked. You can share that. But there's that bit where you're like, I've got to sit down, and then you sit down, and then after about 5 or 10 minutes you kind of unfold and you feel better with one another, and you just start talking, and you start talking about your day. So one of the things that is great to do with younger people is to say, what was the best thing about your day today? And then what was the worst thing about your day today? And you all take turns, mum and dad, or mum and mum, or dad or whatever. Everybody has a turn to say what was the best thing. Often you'll find that they'll say things like, oh, getting up, or ice cream, or but over time it will get better, and you just make it a consistent thing. One of the things that I always do at my house is we sit down for dinner on Sunday and we talk about what's coming up in the week. So what's happening for you, and each of us talk about what's happening. So we are all connected and we all know where we all are, and we can all have that space where we know that there's someone caring about us. We know that, you know, particularly with a child, that we know who's picking her up, what's going on, where we're all going to be at different times, and there's no surprises in the week coming up. it makes us quite connected, and it's a fabulous ritual. So I always try really hard to make sure we do that. We also do something that we call the Saturday night movie, and we've been doing that for several years. These are some of the rituals that I do with my family to connect. So we have, like perhaps some of you might, we have Netflix and we have Stan and we have Disney. So we take turns to pick a movie, and you know, so sometimes you watch kids movies, sometimes we're not watching arty movies, sometimes I get sick of it and I want to watch John Wick, and they all watch John Wick, which is fun. Sometimes I watch romantic films. It's just about what I want to watch or what that person wants to watch on that night. But for the child, it also gives them that sense of autonomy. They can make the choice. You all sit down together and you pay attention to that film, and then you talk about that film. So they feel important and connected and part of those sorts of things, and you're connecting with them. So make sure you reach out and you make those connections with the people that matter. Make sure that you continue to keep them going regardless of what's going on in your life. So for example, with my office being shut, I make sure that I try and connect with my staff or the people that I work with every week in some way, whether it's an email, a phone call or a FaceTime, so that we can continue to be a great team. Anyway, so they are our 3 pillars. That's the last of our series in the resilience series. We will be, you know, resilience is something that's important, and we'll probably talk about it from time to time. But if you hit those 3 things on the head, I think you'll be going in a much better space to build the resilience to continue to go and to continue to be good. So it's Rachel O'Connor on the spot at the therapy spot. I hope you're all having a great week. Thoughts are with the people in Melbourne. And we send you all the well wishes that we can. See you next time. Bye-bye.